Nuzlocking in Pokemon can already be a pretty difficult challenge. But fortunately, a lot of Pokemon are pretty strong, which means you can mitigate this challenge. But what if we removed those strong Pokemon from the equation? What would happen then? Well, your runs would become significantly harder. But there's a big question. What defines a Pokemon as weak? For me, the answer is easy. The base stat total of a Pokemon is the easiest quantifiable way to determine how strong a Pokemon is exactly. So, for this challenge, I decided to limit myself to a cap of 450 base stats. Normally, it's 400, but that is far too limited for this game as I get 0 fully evolved Pokemon. And even at 450, I still only get access to 5 fully evolved Pokemon, including single stages. And honestly, if you have a problem with allowing me to use Watchog or Liepard, make sure you leave 2 or 3 comments letting me know how much you hate it. Without further ado, let's begin the run. Our run starts off as always. We're in our room with Cheren and Bianca getting ready to select our starter. Tepig is the obvious choice, but he trivializes the early game way too much for me. So instead, I go with my favorite starter from this generation, Oshawott. Then, after watching my life flash before my eyes, we can head over to Professor Juniper's lab to get our Pokedex. While here, I also name my Oshawott College Dropout. If you figure out the naming theme, leave a comment, cause I'll be liking every correct answer. With the Pokedex obtained, it's time to go learn how to catch a Pokemon. During this tutorial, I'd like to let you all know to please like and subscribe. Anyways, with that tutorial out of the way, we can catch our second Pokemon, Goblin the Lillipup. Afterwards, we can head forward to Accumulatown where we find Team Plasma doing their little speech in public, and then battle N for the first time. Our team makes quick work with them, and then we can head over to the next route where we can catch our second encounter, Patrat. I named Patrat TPAB, and then do our first of many rival battles against Bianca. But it's no sweat, and we can head straight over to Striation City. Here we battle against Cheren in another one of those many rival battles, who gets dealt with fairly easily by Goblin, and then we can head over to the gym where we can face off against the gym leader, Silent. He leads with Lillipup while I lead with College Dropout. A water gun brings Lillipup down to the red, while Lillipup just sets up a workup. On the heel turn, I switch out to Goblin, and land a tackle to bring Lillipup down to the yellow. Lillipup responds with a weak bite, and a tackle takes down Lillipup the next turn. As a result, Goblin learns the move Takedown, which means he can leer the Pansage once, and then take it down from full HP with a single takedown. With a fairly simple battle, the first gym is taken down very quickly. From here, we head over to the Dream Yard where we find Team Plasma bullying this Munna, and more importantly, find our next encounter, Purloin. I name her Hard and Soft, and then right after, Goblin evolves into a Herdier. Goblin is especially strong, specifically because he has Intimidate. College Dropout also evolves into Duat, and Cheren challenges us to another easy rival battle where Goblin just sweeps once again. Team Plasma then speeds past us straight into Wellspring Cave, but just for a quick second, I stop in the grass to find D4C the Blitzel. D4C is especially useful because he has the ability Lightning Rod, but that'll be much more useful way later on. For now, we head over to Wellspring Cave where Cheren and I deal with Team Plasma and get back to Pokemon that they stole from the little girl. While we're in here, we run into a Woobat who I named Graduation, and then it's off to Nacrene City. From here, I head over to just outside Pinwheel Forest where I can catch an Audino. Audino is complete garbage and will not be used, but fortunately it serves another purpose as it's a dupe for all the Shaking Grass spots. This in particular is very important as a couple of our Elite 4 team members are from the Shaking Grass. But for now, we have to take care of N real quick and then we can challenge the second gym. But before we start the gym, TPAB becomes a Watchog, Hard and Soft becomes a Liepard, and Graduation becomes a Swoobat. With those upgrades, we can begin the battle as Lenora leads with Herdier and I lead with Goblin. We trade Intimidates, and turn 1, I switch out to TPAB while Herdier goes for a Scary Leer. On the next turn, TPAB lands a Dark Gem boosted Crunch that brings Herdier down to the yellow. Herdier then wastes time going for another Leer while a Crunch takes it down next turn. Last up for Lenora is her Watchog, and I use Detect in order to dodge the Retaliate. I then swap out to Goblin who can Cyclone Intimidate, set up one workup, and take the KO with a +1 normal gem boosted takedown. With that, we have defeated Lenora and obtained the second gym badge. From here, we find Team Plasma who's messing with us, and they head into Pinwheel Forest. With the Audino dupe, inside Pinwheel Forest we're able to find an Elite 4 Pokemon. Pansage, aka the other one, doesn't seem like much right now, but trust me, later on it's insanely impactful. But for now, we can deal with Team Plasma and head over to Castelia City. From here, we can head straight over to Route 4 and catch ourselves a Sandile. MBDTF here is very strong and will be insanely useful once he becomes a Krokorok. With Intimidate and an insanely good stab combination, his power cannot be overstated. Now we can head back to Castelia City and deal with Team Plasma one final time before we challenge Berg's gym. He leads with Whirlipede while I lead with Goblin. 2 Retaliates just barely misses out on the KO, while Berg just hits us with a couple couple struggle bugs. On the heal turn, I just give the free switch in to graduation, and he lands an air cutter that just barely misses the KO. Whirlipede goes for a weak pursuit, and next turn Berg heals. But it's to no avail as 2 more air cutters take down Whirlipede. Next to come out is Berg's Dwebble, who I switch out to College Dropout for. A Smackdown doesn't deal too much damage, and next turn a Water Gem boosted Razor Shell is able to take down Dwebble. Last for Berg is Leavanny, who I switch out to Graduation for, and one final air cutter is able to take down Leavanny and earn us the 3rd gym badge. From here we head over to Route 4, which has 2 relatively easy rival battles, but don't worry, once we enter the mid game these battles will start to actually get difficult. From here we head over to Nimbasa City and stop Team Plasma from messing with this old guy, and then I head back to Nacrene City to turn in my plume fossil that I got from Desert Resort. This means I get Yeezus the Urchin, who is an insanely strong member of our team. Once he's obtained, I head back to Nimbasa City and go on a Ferris wheel ride with N. And during this downtime I'd like to give a really short talk on Pokemon mechanics. Don't worry, it won't take too long. Anyways, in Pokemon, Trainer AI has the ability to basically store an ability. For example, if something uses Water Gun into a Water Absorb Pokemon, the AI will store that knowledge. And from there, it won't use a Water type move into Water Absorb until the Pokemon with Water Absorb is switched out. From there, the AI essentially erases the ability that was stored and is able to store a new one. This is present in almost all Pokemon games as well, except in Gen 5, there is a bug. When you switch out a Pokemon, the ability won't be erased and will remain until overwritten by another ability. This essentially means in Gen 5, you can use a Water Absorb Pokemon to basically make your entire team immune to Water type moves until you prove to the AI that you have another ability. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this as I begin the battle against Elisa. Elisa leads with Emolga while I lead with Goblin. Elisa sees Volt Switch as the most damaging move, so I switch out to D4C. This procs D4C's Volt Absorb and more importantly stores the Volt Absorb ability. And so I can switch out to Yeezus and essentially gaslight Elisa into thinking it has Volt Absorb. This means Yeezus can take down both Emolgas with no sweat, despite the fact that a single Volt Switch would kill Yeezus instantly. Then when Substrike comes in, I fall under Defeatist range, which means I can finish off the battle with Hard and Soft. With that, we obtain the 4th gym badge and probably make Elisa rethink her entire life. From here we have another easy rival battle against Charon, and then Elisa drops the drawbridge for us. Now we can head to everybody's favorite city and go just past it so we can catch GK Mad City the Emolga. Then just outside the cold storage I'm able to catch Lovers the Vanillite. Then MBDTF evolves into a Krokorok. This is probably the single best Pokemon we can get in the entire game. Well, within our rule set obviously. Afterwards we can clear out Team Plasma from the cold storage, and then head straight over to Clay's gym and start the 5th gym battle. He leads with a Krokorok while I lead with the other one. I didn't mention this by the way, but I'm definitely using EVs. And the other one, who has max speed EVs and attack EVs, is able to take down Krokorok with a single speed bomb. Next to come out is Excadrill, and I swap out to MBDTF to cycle and intimidate. I tank a Rock Slide, and just as I think I'm about to take out Excadrill, I realize my only attacking move is Mud Slap. From here I pivot to Yeezus on a Slash, and then back into Krokorok to cycle and intimidate. But Excadrill just ends up going for a Hone Claws, so I swap out to Emolga on a Bulldoze, and cycle another Intimidate. Then after one more cycle, I switch out to College Dropout and land a Razor Shell to finally end the battle. And just for clarification, in post I have no idea what I was doing. I could have switched into College Dropout like 7 times and probably ended the battle 10 minutes ago. But regardless, we have obtained the 5th gym badge. Anyways, we wipe Bianca once again and head into Charge Zone Cave and Repel Manipulate at level 27 to give ourselves a really high chance at getting Clink. We catch them and name them Aerial Etiquette. From here we have this pretty simple battle against N and run past Mistralton City to catch Pink Friday the Tranquil. Then we ring this bell at the top of Celestial Tower just like you should after you subscribe. Afterwards, it's time to face off against Skyla and her birds. She leads off with this region's Batbird while I lead with GK Mad City. Turn 1, an Electro Ball just barely misses the KO, while Swoobat deals decent damage with a Heart Stamp. Next turn, Skyla heals, and an Electro Ball brings Swoobat back down to the red. I then use Volt Switch to give Ghetsis a free switch in on the incoming Swanna, but I guess I wildly overestimated his damage as a smackdown doesn't quite take the KO against Swanna. We are nearly punished in the worst way possible as a Bubble Beam leaves Ghetsis on 7 HP. Ghetsis then outspeeds and takes the KO, and last to come in is Unfaisant. From here I switch out to Emolga, who tanks an attack, and a Volt Switch is able to take down Unfaisant in a single hit. With Unfaisant going down, we have earned ourselves the 6th gym badge. From here, just like most rival battles, this one isn't very different, and Cheren gets wiped immediately. With access to Surf, we can head over to Mistralin Cave and Repel Manipulate at level 31 to give us a high chance at getting an Axew. I name her As I Am, and look at these stats! Max speed? This little girl will be insanely useful later on. From here, we make our way through Twist Mountain and end up in Icarus City. Just before the next gym, Aerial Etiquette becomes a Clang, and then we can challenge Bryson and his ice types. He leads with Vanillish while I lead with Ghetsis. With max attack EVs, a Smackdown is able to take down Vanillish in a single hit, and a Flying Gem boosted Acrobatics is able to take down Beartic also in a single hit. Lastly, Cryogonal falls to the same fate minus the Flying Gem boost. With that, we have defeated Bryson and earned ourselves the 7th gym badge. From here, we gotta head north over to Dragon Spiral Tower, where we gotta fight our way to the top, dealing with some Team Plasma members on the way, until eventually we get to the top where we find N messing around with Reshiram, and then the two of them fly away, and we learn that we have to head over to the Desert Resort. Afterwards, As I Am evolves into a Fracture, and then we head over to the Desert Resort and talk with Alder and Ghetsis. Then, after a meeting in Nacrene City, we can start making our way over to the next gym. On our way, we're stopped by Bianca for one final rival fight against her, and she leads with Stoutland and I lead with Clang. After a couple turns, we both end up in the yellow, but she heals and I land a Flash Cannon. I realize I'm not making enough progress, so I switch out to Krokorok, who then immediately gets hit by a Roar and forces out Graduation. I switch back out to Krokorok on a Crunch, and a Dig brings Stoutland to heal range. A Retaliate still does a ton of damage even through an Intimidate, and she heals while I land a Bulldoze that does about 20%. From here, I try switching out to Archon, but I get forced out by a Roar into Emolga. Emolga lands an Electro Ball and then gets hit by a Roar, forcing out Ghetsis. Ghetsis then takes a KO on Stoutland with Acrobatics, and the same goes for the Simisage that comes after. Next to come in is Musharna, and I switch out to Graduation on a Lucky Chant. I set up one Calm Mind while Musharna wastes time going for a Defense Curl, and 2 Shadow Balls takes down Musharna. Last to come in is Embor, but he just ends up getting one-shot by a single Air Slash. Just outside the next city, we're able to run in this patch of grass to find ourselves our next Elite 4 teammate. By the way, the Pawniard joins our team, then we head over to Iris's house over in Opelucid City. After a lore dump, we can challenge Iris's team. Overall, her team can be a really massive problem for us, but she has one very major flaw. Do you see it? Iris's only stab move is Dragon Tail, and since it has negative priority, a Dragon Fang boosted Dragon Claw is able to one-shot all 3 of her teammates. And so, because of Iris's fail in team building, we earn ourselves the 8th gym badge. Once that's done, we can start making our way over to the Pokemon League, but on our way we get stopped by Cheren for one final rival battle. He leads with Unfaisant while I lead with Emolga. An Electro Ball just barely misses the KO, but Unfaisant goes for a Razor Wind, which means I'm able to take it down next turn. After a Volt Switch, I switch out to Archon, and next to come in is Simipour. An Acrobatics takes down Simipour, and next to come in is Serperior. So I switch out to Graduation on a Leaf Blade, and land an Air Slash after a missed Slam. Serperior then lands a Slam, but it doesn't matter as an Air Slash takes it down next turn. Next to come in is Liepard, who gets walled by Clang and eventually gets taken down in a couple turns by a Gear Grind. With that, we beat Cheren for the final time, and we can head over to the Pokemon League. Once we make our way through Victory Road, we arrive at the Pokemon League. And after some final preparations, here is our final 6 Pokemon. Let's see if we can defeat the Elite 4. First up is usually the easiest of the 4, Caitlyn and her Psychic types. She leads with Reuniclus while I lead with By the Way. A Dark Gem boosted Night Slash takes a KO, and next to come in is Gothitelle. I switch out to Krokorok on a Thunderbolt, and Krokorok is able to sweep the last couple Pokemon with Black Glasses boosted Crunches. Up next on the list is Chantal. She leads with Kappa Greekus while I lead with By the Way again. A Night Slash does over half, while a Shadow Ball doesn't do that much damage to Pawniard. One more Night Slash takes a KO, and next to come in is Golurk. Pawniard is baiting Brick Break and Earthquake, so I switch out to Graduation, and then switch out to Krokorok on a Shadow Punch. A Dark Gem boosted Crunch takes a KO, and next to come out is Jellicent. Krokorok is baiting Surf, so I switch out to the other one, and a Grass Gem boosted Seed Bomb with a 90% chance to KO just barely misses the kill. But thankfully, the other one holds on after a strong Shadow Ball. 2 more Siege Seed Bombs take the KO after a heal, and last for Chantal is her Chandelure. I still need Pansage for a future fight, but none of my Pokemon can really take a switch in, so I have to sacrifice a Pokemon. I ultimately decide that Swoobat is the least useful one, and even though the sacrifice was always planned, I realized I probably should have fought Marshall before this. But that's okay, as Swoobat tanks a payback when it comes in. A Shadow Ball does good chip damage, which means Krokorok can come in afterwards and land an Earthquake to end the second battle. Next up on the Elite Four itinerary is Marshall and his fighting types. He leads with Throw while I lead with Archon. A Flying Gem Acrobatics is able to one-shot Throw, and next to come in is Sock. Sock has Sturdy, so it's not that simple to one-shot him, which means I switch out to Krokorok on a Stone Edge. This baits Karate Chop, so I switch out to Emolga, who gets crit on the switch in. Then I land a Volt Switch to go back out to Krokorok on a Stone Edge, and with the 2 Intimidate drops, we're able to switch back into Archon and land an Acrobatics to take down Sock. Then once Conkeldurr comes in, it gets one-shot by an Acrobatics, and Mienshao meets the exact same fate. There was a more optimal line with Swoobat, but it's okay, we pulled through anyways. But remember, it's always important to learn from your mistakes, even if you win anyways. Last up in the Elite Four is Grimsley and his Dark types. Grimsley leads with Scrafty while I lead with Archon once again. An Acrobatics takes down Scrafty in a single hit, and next to come out is Bisharp. Bisharp is going for Metal Claw, so I switch out to Emolga and take moderate damage. I Volt Switch to deal good chip damage and switch out to Krokorok, which is very scary due to Intimidate proccing Defiant. But fortunately, Night Slash doesn't crit and Krokorok is able to take the KO with an Earthquake next turn. Next for Grimsley is his Crocodile, who sees Earthquake as a KO, so I switch out to Emolga and land an Encore. This means Crocodile is a sitting duck, while Acrobatics just takes it down in a couple turns. Last up for Grimsley is a Lipard, who ends up going down in 2 turns to a pair of Electro Balls. With Grimsley's defeat, that means we surpass the Elite Four. But when we get to the champion, we find that N has already defeated Alder. N then makes a giant castle appear from out of the ground? I feel like you would notice that being built, but whatever I guess. And then we have to go through the castle so that we can eventually fight N and Ghetsis. But before that happens, here is my final 6 Pokemon for the N and Ghetsis fight. Before we begin the final 2 battles, we first have to engage in a battle with Zekrom. I just kinda catch him with a Master Ball and send him back to our box so we can face off against N. He leads with Reshiram while I lead with Krokorok. Reshiram somehow outspeeds and lands a Fusion Flare, but fortunately it doesn't quite take the KO, and a Ground Dram boosted Earthquake is enough to take the KO against Reshiram. Next for N is his Vanillush, so I switch out to Aerial Etiquette, who dodges a Blizzard. Vanillux then sets up a Hail while I set up a Shift Gear. Next turn, I set up a second Shift Gear while Vanillux lands a weak Flash Cannon. I then set up a third Shift Gear while Vanillux lands another weak Flash Cannon. Then a Gear Grind is able to one-shot Vanillux, and next they come in is Kling Klang. Or should I say Zoroark, as a return takes a KO, and next to come out is the real Kling Klang. I go for Gear Grind that deals just about 60%, while Kling Klang lands a Thunderbolt. Another Gear Grind from Klang misses, while Kling Klang lands another Thunderbolt. Finally, a Gear Grind takes down Kling Klang, and next to come out is Caracosta. Then I land a Volt Switch to get rid of the Sturdy, and we can finally stop saying Clink or Clang. I swap out to the other one, who tanks a Waterfall fairly well and lands a Seed Bomb to take down Caracosta. Last for N is probably his scariest Pokemon, Arceus. I swap out to Emolga on random move and fortunately pull Acrobatics, but Emolga gets crit and dies anyways. Rest in peace, one of my goats. I then send in Archon to finish off Archeops with a single Rock Slide. Last up is the final battle against Ghetsis. He leads with Cofagrigus while I lead with Krokorok. I switch out to As I Am because I need kill credit in order to gain XP, and she gets hit by a Toxic on the switch in. Then I swap out to Aerial Etiquette, who walls Cofagrigus, while Cofagrigus just wastes time going for a Protect. From here, I set up a couple of Shift Gears, while Cofagrigus just sits around wasting time. Then a Gear Grind finally takes down Cofagrigus, and next to come out is Hydreigon. Originally, As I Am's perfect speed would have come in real handy against this thing, but because of the Shift Gears, a Gear Grind is able to take the KO instantly. Next up is Bouffalon, who once again I'm able to one-shot with a Gear Grind. Next up is Seismitoad, who doesn't quite get KO'd by a return, which means an Earthquake is able to take down Aerial Etiquette. Next to come in is the other one who takes the Revenge KO with a single Seed Bomb. Next for Ghetsis is Electros, and I just get some chip damage with a Seed Bomb until so ultimately Electros takes down Pansage. I send in As I Am and set up a Dragon Dance while Electros goes for an Acrobatics that doesn't deal that much damage. Then, next turn, a Dragon Claw boosted by a Dragon Gem is able to take down Electros. Last to come out for Ghetsis is his Bisharp, and once again I sacrifice As I Am to deal some chip damage with a Dragon Claw. However, this sacrifice means I can send in Krokorok and land one final Earthquake to win the challenge. I'd love to thank you all for watching this challenge, as it was pretty hard to pull off. If you got this far, let me know if you'd like to see me do any ROM hacks and if I should stream them on my Twitch channel. And if you do want to see them, leave some suggestions down below as to what you would want to see. Anyways, if you got this far, leave a comment saying Archon is the GOAT, and I'll see you guys next time. I love you all, bye bye!